New school you got here since last time we were in Port Hope, Simpson. Any of you remember when we were here before? So, do you remember what year it was? Do you remember what year it was?
Grade 11.
Because Mr. Ware said this morning he thought it was about 5 years ago. I think no, it was a lot longer than
I
that.
think it's 2011.
Okay, so that's 10, 11 years ago. Yeah, that makes more sense actually.
Yeah.
That,
The name of the song is called The Warlike Lads of Russia.
and one of the questions that we get a lot of times, you know, when we're traveling, especially in schools and stuff like that, is people say, well, you know, we sing, we sing, you know, songs, for example, that I write very regularly as well, contemporary songs, but we sing a lot of old traditional songs, and people often ask, well, what's the relevance of singing a lot of these traditional songs today? And of course, it's a big part of it for us is because they're historical. They tell us a lot about the history of the place, the people who lived here. Getting Duffy shirty, and twilight setting in. I was watching the light at Cape Spear fade away. I was on the way to Greenland actually, and the light at Cape Spear was kind of fading away behind me, and I thought, you know, thought that might make a good first line for a song. And when you're singing, you know, you make up songs. You're trying to sort of find, you know, phrases and images and lines that you can actually compile. Because writing a song is like a construction project. I mean, people talk about being inspired to write something, and it's true that sometimes, you know, you will jot down a set of lyrics and kind of stuck in ice. It's not much fun. You're not moving, you can't work. You're just hoping the wind will change and a lead to open up in the ice, or the Coast Guard to come and cut you out of it or something. So I was sitting in the crew room, just killing time, had a couple of instruments with me, and just playing around, and I decided I'd take a stab at finishing this song. And so that's what it is. It's called Waltz Around the Cape, and it's this line about the light on the Cape is fading fast. That's the line that I jotted down in a little notebook when I was still in sight of Cape Spear. So it is. So 1, 2, 3, 1. The light on the Cape is fading fast. Last glimpse of shoreline rushes past. I watch till it fades out of sight. Day becomes night. I'm farther than ever from you. I dream we were waltzing round the Cape. I held you gently in my arms. Dream. Let's try it. 1, 2, 3, 4. No sound. Because with the stops down, it stops all the music from coming out. Now some of these, some types of these will only play with the stops down. And with the stops up, they don't make any sound. But with this one, and all the ones that I have in fact, at least one stop has to be up to get any musical sound out of it. And I've taken the grill off here so you can kind of see how they work. But when I press a button and a lever pops up, I don't know if you can see it there, like there are 4 holes. You guys see that down there? There are 4 holes underneath each lever, one for each stop. You guys see that? You might see speed. And when you blow through your thumbs, your breath causes that blade of grass or the reed to vibrate. And that's actually what makes the sound. Now, so there's a lot of reeds in the reed bank in this, for example. If I take this apart, I can take the reed bank up in my hand like this, and you can blow into it like a harmonica. I don't recommend it because it's really hard on the lips, because you know you've got a great big wooden thing going there. But systems and amplifiers and microphones and so on, you know, you could play at a community event, a dance or a concert or whatever, in a community with no amplification, and there's enough volume in this instrument so that everybody could actually hear it. The other thing about it is that it's not affected at all by the climate. So, for example, the wooden instruments, and especially delicate wooden instruments like a fiddle, for example, is really affected by the climate, by dampness, humidity, cold, and even the guitar, for example. Well, you'd find like it's, you know, sudden temperature change, and it will go out of tune because of the wood. It causes the wood to contract or expand depending on the temperature. So, which means that I get a full musical scale on just 4 buttons. This side of the hockey games these nights, it's it's a problem. It's hard for me too. I have to force myself to stop watching. But we were just a little bit before COVID. We were down because we used to tour in the U.S. a lot as well before COVID. We were in Detroit, and we did an afternoon event. So we had the night off, and the Red Wings were playing the L.A. Kings that night. So we went off to the hockey game. And I pulled my accordions and I stuck it in a bag and I put it under the seat. And when Detroit scored a goal, everybody's cheering for Detroit, and I took this out and I went. And all these people said, they kind of stopped cheering, they're looking around and said, what is going on? What is that strange sound? And we were peppered with questions about the instruments and where we were from and so on and so forth. So it kind of brought it home, you know, that it was not a common experience for people to actually see this.
It's called a bowron, and bowron comes from the Irish language. I'm not originally from this part of the world. I'm from Ireland originally, and I grew up in Ireland, went to school in Ireland. So when we were in Ireland, going to school in Ireland, we learned English, and we also learned Irish, the Irish language. And the word bowron comes from the Irish language. It's referring to your ears, and right enough, you know, if you went up beside somebody and you hit it hard enough, it could really, really hurt their ears. But that's not the way we play. But it's basically it's a frame drum, and you find frame drums in cultures all over the world. You know, a wooden frame with an animal skin stretched around it to make the sound. And
or if you're left-handed, use your right hand. But for right-handed people, use your left hand.
Okay, so take your hand and tuck it right into your rib cage like that, and stick it right up straight from your body like that. Okay? Now take your other hand and imagine you got water dripping from your fingers, and you're trying to shake the water down. Now when you move your hand into the other hand, you get a slapping motion. Down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up. So, you translate that onto the drum, and you're moving your hand up and down like that, and you move it into the drum, and you get it. Then somebody came up with the idea of using a stick.
So the rhythms that we use, even like when we're playing just on a couple of instruments here, I mean, those are the same rhythms that are used for symphony orchestras, for rock bands, rap, whatever you like. It's really all about how you actually play them and what instruments that gives you the kind of sound. So the jigs and reels are really based on the time signature. Like if you look at a sheet of music, I'm sure you've all seen a sheet of music written out. If you look in the upper left-hand corner of the sheet of music, it'll have a fraction on it. And that actually tells you what the time signature is, what the rhythm is. And so that's the single jig rhythm in 2/4 time. The fraction is a 2 over 4. Now for the double jig. And so they'd be used for individuals to step dance. For example, like when I was in, I think it was in grade 9, I won a scholarship that was supposed to go towards my education. But I went and bought an electric guitar with it out of the catalog. An electric guitar and amp. My principal and my parents, nobody was very impressed with it. But to me, it was going towards my education, right?
The remarkable thing I always find about that when he tells that story, he bought the guitar and an amp, but they didn't have electricity in the house.
But we had a generator at school, so I could play it at school. So, but also, and the churches had generators and stuff as well. So the Salvation Army wouldn't let me bring an electric guitar into the church. But the United Church was okay with it. They invited me to come and play it at their church. And as time went on, you saw sort of more and more kind of electronic instruments. I mean, you see now in places that wouldn't go near electric instruments, now they got the big drum kits and amplifiers and even the bouncing ball on the screen to give you the lyrics to the hymns.
And then you'll have to recite it to the class or whatever. Anyway, one piece of poetry that I've always stuck in my mind, and it goes, "An ish chock van arig beg a log Duncan Sheena was collation of fail bleed ar going name a kill." And it's after the Feast of Bridges, I will go and find wood for my fire. That's basically what it's translated. But yeah, I don't know the rest of the poem. It was a long, long poem.